and we are live.
All right.
No intro?
No intro. I'm.
You're being lazy. What the hell?
No, I'm not being lazy. I want to make new ones. Sick of the old ones. It's been one of those days. Welcome, Christian, and thank you for filling in at the last minute.
Happy to do it. Happy to do it. I was in the office and saw your post, and I know I didn't have anything going on tonight, so glad to help you out. Anytime.
Oh, thank you.
But I mean, the guests we had, somebody that was never on our show before, but what happens? I can't count on everybody. And I didn't want it to be a second week in a row with no guests.
Yeah, this happened last weekend too.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
Last Friday when we were starting to come back after taking a hiatus, Mark moved. And since we talked last, Mark has moved into a house, bought a house, moved.
I bought a house.
Good for you.
That put our schedule on a little bit of a hiatus for a while. And
it took me a while to be able to buy a house and get my credit score back up after the ex left and everything went into the trash.
I've had several friends down that same highway over the years.
it takes a while sometimes.
Yeah.
It does.
So, anyway, so welcome back. It's been a while. About 3 months, I think it was, when I was looking. What have you been up to since then? Got some interesting investigations you've been on?
Well, actually, we've been working on a case that I know you guys are familiar with. It is a location, I'm not going to bring up any names here, but it's a location out in Grafton, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And we've been digging deep and trying to get as much background information that we can.
Good luck.
I'm sorry?
Good luck with that. It's not easy.
Actually, it hasn't been too bad, actually. We know somebody that's a genealogist,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got access to certain things that you or I don't have access to.
Well, that would help. We
That would
also
help.
were trying to dig into the Grafton history back when some of the historical society buildings and stuff weren't open to public due to COVID. So that didn't help us much.
I'm sure not. In fact, and this person even recommended that if we had time to, get out to the Grafton Historical Society or whatever, whatever they call themselves. Unfortunately, like so many of us, I still work for a living because I'm too stupid to retire, So there really isn't time during the week to go out there and do that. But to kind of spread the base of that story a little bit, we were out there one night and there was other people there and we investigated for a while, and what we did was we reinvestigated just a night, Dennis and myself. And one of the most interesting things that had happened that night at about 10:35 p.m., Dennis gets this hankering. He wants pizza. Now, okay, pre-COVID, getting pizza, pretty easy to do. And he's on his phone and he's looking, oh, this guy's open, oh, they won't deliver here, I'll just go there. Okay, well, closed, and closed. But while Dennis is gone, I'm in this house by myself, reviewing EVPs on a recorder that we'd already captured that night. And I got to tell you, that house came alive. There was more footsteps, bumping, banging, slamming, jamming. And I'm sitting there in the dining room, sitting at the table. I know you know what table I'm talking about. And I was on the same laptop that I'm on right now, and I'm reviewing, and I'm looking around, and I'm going, bring it. You're not scaring me out of here. But I think they were trying. Because, honest to God, the volume of some of the bangs and clangs that I had heard phenomenal. And of course, I had a recorder sitting right on the table, going as
Yep.
Yep. As we're doing this, and I got the evidence. Dennis comes back with no pizza, and and by this time I'm getting hungry. I'm thinking we got pizza coming, okay. Well, he comes back empty-handed. And I start telling him everything that goes on. And he's like, really? I said, yeah, really. Well, okay, he calls Yvette. She's going to bring us pizza up from Milwaukee. Okay, fine. I says, I'll tell you what. I says, I'm going to leave the house for a little while. And we'll see if it happens with you being in the house alone. Nothing happened. Nothing. Nothing happened at all.
So besides the footsteps and creaks and bumps and everything, did you have any experiences with lights going on and off?
That we really did not experience at all. And we stayed, we were there, we didn't leave till maybe 7:30 that morning. Oh. So we were, bring it on, we're here. We did have some other kind of weird things happening, EMF wise. Now I know how those two front doors are set up, that double door. That thing was the door pegging the meter. What is in a wood door?
There shouldn't be anything in that.
There shouldn't be anything.
Unless you were getting some sort of bleed off from a doorbell, but that still shouldn't have done that.
And I tell you, Mark, we even went outside of the house to the front and metered it from the outside. Nothing.
So all your activity was it in the house only?
Yeah.
You didn't get anything in the back and the yard area or anything like that?
No.
In the attic?
How about up in the attic?
Actually, I stuck my head up in there with the FLIR, and we had the meter up there. Nothing going on in the attic. Now, I know you guys had a little bit of activity in the attic.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't get nothing up there. So
that's kind of strange.
It's weird. You go, this happens one time, you go back, or somebody else goes, that don't happen. Something else happens.
So you were in the kitchen during all this.
In the kitchen, the dining room, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's a connection there.
Right?
So, they're all it's all connected. Right?
It's all connected. Tomorrow.
Any activity in the cupboards?
Not that I'm aware of. No.
Okay.
Nope.
Not like stuff moving around inside the cupboards, just the doors.
Like doors opening and whatnot. I tell you, I had my eyes open for that all night. I didn't notice anything at all. Tomorrow afternoon, I'm going to bring a medium friend of mine out there, and we're going to do a walkthrough with her. And I'm trying to keep things on the low as much as I can, because there are certain things that our genealogist told us, and I want to see if I get a good correlation between what I know from one to go with the other.
Definitely.
And I'm trying my damnedest. We're going to get him that house back. It's going to happen. I don't know when, but it's going to happen.
I actually gave him crystals, and I've
seen them.
I was reported to that the crystals were split, that they got broke.
I've seen them, Mark. They are broke.
Yeah, I got to get more. I got to get a little bit better of a stash to them.
I don't know.
I have a very good idea.
Yeah, I was shown by the man of the house, not the lady of the house. We're not going to bring up any names. We'll keep this private until we get them the house back. Then we can brag all we want. But until then, nope, nope, nope.
I definitely want to get back up there and get back into being a part of it again because
Yeah, that was
I need to get.
probably
I have some more crystals now that are a little bit better, and I can probably do a little bit more with them.
Oh, okay.
So,
but out of the two private home experiences that we did so far, that was the most active and the most interesting. You know,
It's not the most active house I've ever been in,
well, it has been
but
for us, but
I gotta tell you, I was sitting there alone. It was like somebody was trying to scare me out of there.
mhm.
It didn't work, but they were trying because I tell you, some of the crashes and bangs that I heard, talk about loud.
Yeah,
There was
that
nothing subtle about it, you know.
sounds
well,
like
that
you're
whole
kind of like
town's
me.
got some history to it, though. That whole town, Grafton,
Yeah,
has got some dark history to it. I mean,
sounds like you're kind of like me though, Christian. Just like jaded to it.
we had the
You know. Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead. Go ahead.
we even went over to the what was that there's an old
It's
flour mill back in the day,
the Grafton Mill.
right? And it sits right on the Milwaukee River there. And
Yeah, we did it. We did an
we
investigation
had
on that
some pretty
on Halloween.
interesting investigation. We had some pretty interesting activity at that place, and it taught us a few lessons to boot. I mean, it taught us one. We went out and started buying body cameras because things tend to happen when you're not prepared.
Mhm.
And
Always.
we it was me and the owner of that house that you were talking about. We were walking to go outside to have a cigarette, and as we were walking out, one of the three lights in the hallway flickered at us. Now,
Wasn't
if that
just
was a
it
surge of
wasn't just the
electricity, it should have
one
been all
light.
three because they were all on the same circuit, and it's one switch to turn them all on.
Yeah, but Joe, remember, tell them which light it was.
It was the one right in the center, middle light. And it was, you could see like it was an old building, so you could see like how they have it, like the metal encased wiring, going on the wall up to the light,
Sure.
Yeah,
you know.
you got
So we're sitting there
the
trying to get this to do it again, like
tubing.
maybe tap on the thing, and nobody else was downstairs. Nobody. Everybody was on the third floor. We were on our way out. So nobody turned on the switches, and there was only two switches, one at either end of that hallway.
It's definitely pretty weird. You got only one out of three, so you know
Yeah.
it's not a circuit.
Well,
Right. Well,
the
we
weirdest
tried to reenact it and tap on
right.
that wiring casing stuff and seeing if we could maybe with a short or something. Nope, couldn't do it.
But the weirdest part about it, you got to think. The weirdest part about it, it was the light that's right in the middle of them. You got
Right.
the two on the end, and then the one in the middle, and that's the one that flickered at them.
Yeah, that's
The other two never even bothered.
I'm just glad I wasn't alone when it happened because most people think I'm crazy anyway.
No,
You know.
he's just glad he wasn't alone because he knew I would give him so much crap.
You know. Well, then we had what? We went down to the one room. There was one room. It was kind of like a bar.
Okay,
It's the first floor.
here. Hang on a second, Joe. I'll explain this one. Joe, myself, and my daughter. My daughter went with us for this investigation. So the three of us were on the first floor. So we were over in this little area that's seating for the bar when the bar is open. And right next to this open area, there's a bathroom in there. Now, prior to all this, Joe, myself, and my daughter were down there and we were doing an EVP. So we got done and we started back up and we had turned all the lights off, made sure all the lights were off. That seating area, the light switch, the only light switch for it, was on a door around the side of a wall that you had to the exit door, and you had to actually go there to flip that light on. So everything was off. We went back upstairs. Now the other crew that was there and the owner of that house you're talking about, they all came downstairs because they were also going to do an EVP down there. They hollered up to us and was like, "Did you guys leave the lights on down here?" Uh, no.
No.
We never even turned the lights on. I don't believe, because I had my flashlight and then I had my night vision in my camera, and Joe had night vision on his camera.
Yes. What do you need lights for? You know.
So yeah,
It was also the same room we were in. It was also the same room that 4 or 5 of us were sitting in. I think we were all sitting in.
no,
it.
we were all sitting in that room
Yeah, we were
later
all
on in the
in that
evening.
room, and the water in the bathroom turned on. And the bathroom was like up against the wall right behind us.
I've had that happen in a haunted hotel that I stayed in,
Yep.
where middle of the night I'm taking care of some personal business. All of a sudden, the damn water starts running.
Well, we were sitting there doing our EVP. I had my camera going. I had my EVP going also. Kayla had, no, my camera was upstairs. Kayla had Joe's camera and was using it. Joe was sitting with the other person that was with us, and Christopher Kai House and his wife were there. They were the other team. Chris had his back against the wall where the bathroom was, and we're sitting there. We're all sitting there, and I'm starting to hear what sounded like water, and I'm like, anybody else hear that? And our other guest that arranged it for us is like, he pipes up. He's like, yeah, it sounds like water running, and it's like, it's coming from the bathroom. So Chris jumped up. Well, he jumped up first and went towards the bathroom. Chris jumped up and followed him, and then I jumped up and followed them. And as soon as they got to that doorway, it stopped.
Oh,
And
that's a
so, yeah. So Chris was thinking the toilet, because sometimes it's got that little overflow, and when it does,
run a little bit. Yeah, sure.
Fill it back up, But the problem is when that happens, normally it leaves little bubbles on the top and it disturbs the water. Chris pulled the lid off and it was nothing. There was no bubbles. The water didn't even have any movement to it or anything. My thought was the sink, and I walked over to the sink and I ran my finger around the edges of the drain.
Oh yeah.
It was fresh, cold water around that drain. And the cool thing is, not one of us used that bathroom at all until after that incident happened. We were all using the bathroom on the second floor. We did not use the bathroom on the first floor until after that incident happened to us.
It'd have been great to be able to film that.
I wish we would have been able to have a camera in there, but
I mean, that would have been cool.
Oh, it would have been.
It never works out that way, though. It's you chalk that stuff up to personal experience. We've all got so many of them that I think after a while, some of this stuff you actually kind of get a little bit desensitized. At least I've noticed that in myself, anyway.
That's what I was saying.
I kind of noticed after living here in Wisconsin as long as I have, I didn't know how strange this place was. I didn't know the possibilities. And then when I opened my mind to all of this, I started seeing more things and noticing more things about the place. And it's been kind of a cool experience because I drive down some of these highways when I drove cab for a living a lot, and I never noticed some of the eagles' nests that were all over the place that were close by. For example. But then there was one time I wasn't prepared, and this was after we started the whole paranormal thing. And I'm driving down the road, and I know most of the bird species and stuff that are here in Wisconsin because I've seen them most of my life. This thing had a wingspan. It was black, and it was huge. and it doesn't match anything that I know of that lives in Wisconsin, and we saw it on a highway sign. And the wingspan was, because it had its wings spread like this, were out past the street sign. And it was one of these ones that, the big green ones that show you all the different exits that are coming
Oh,
out.
sure, sure.
The big green, and this one was over the Beltline Highway or something, and it had, it was posting three exits, or three directions, at all three directions. And so it's a pretty wide sign, and each side of this bird's wings were well over that sign.
At least 2 lanes wide.
You sure it wasn't a pterodactyl or something?
Like I said,
We make
it a
fun
lot.
of it.
Anything's possible.
No. Seriously, we make fun of that. But if you ask the Native Americans down in the New Mexico and Arizona area, they
Thunderbird.
will literally tell you that there are pterodactyls still alive, and they call them the Thunderbirds.
Huh?
I have heard that. Never firsthand, but I have heard that. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And there are legends and rumors of those type of birds in the Superstitious Mountains.
Well, I don't know if you've ever been down there, but you've got some of these places, Arizona, Nevada, and I've been through both states investigating. You name it. For instance, in Nevada, if there's a place that you can think of, there's a pretty good chance I've probably been there at one point in time or another. But my point is that there's so many desolate mountainous areas out there.
Mm-hmm.
There could be flocks of things out there that men just don't see.
Yeah, well, that's how much of the dense woods have we not explored because we can't get through them?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
The planet itself, the land and the mountains and the forests and everything, we've explored more of our planet, of that part of it, than we have even our oceans. Our oceans were only at about 15% of exploration of that. But still, even in the Amazon, there are isolated tribes down there that claim that there are animals that that look like resemble Brontosaurus or Brachiosaur. Now, I don't know why they had to go and change the name of everything, but when we grew up, what we knew of as Brontosaurus. There are tribes down in the Amazons that have actually described these creatures.
You bring that up. You bring up the Amazon. I was watching an episode of Josh Gates on there, and he was talking about all the different species. It was like the one where he sends a crew and he sits back in New York or wherever his office is, and arranges everything, and people go out. Well, they were looking for some giant serpent type creature. All right. Well, the one guy that was part of Josh's team came to the conclusion that it was probably a subspecies of the anaconda. Now, they ended up capturing an anaconda, and I don't know if they got I think they came back with no subspecies available, but it was of the anaconda family. But it had the markings that everybody was describing, and they thought it was like some kind of dragon serpent, and this thing was like described to be up to 60 plus feet long.
Wow.
So on and so forth. The one they captured was about, I think, somewhere around 16 feet, they said. So it was still, kind of young.
Well,
that's huge. 16 feet.
I know.
Boy.
You gotta
The
think.
largest anaconda on record was a green anaconda, and it was 30 feet long.
Yeah, but you got to think. Okay, anacondas are kind of like some of the fish species, and you can tell, with the fish species, people who get them from pet stores and stuff, like your iridescent sharks. They're basically a catfish, and they will only grow as big as their environment will let them.
Allows them to.
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's
if you put them in a pond or a lake, if you put them in a 100,000 acre lake, they can get
pretty massive.
20 feet long and weigh 2,000 pounds. It's kind of like an anaconda. If you have an anaconda or a boa or a ball python, and you have them in a terrarium cage area, they're only going to get as big as their environment is. That's why a lot of these that they're finding in Florida now, these are all pets that have been released like 20 years ago. And they're pulling out some that are like 15, 16 feet long.
there was something on I forget if it was Google News Feed or Yahoo or whatever not that long ago, and they're walking out of somebody's yard. 6 guys, everybody's got part of the snake on their shoulder, walking this thing out. I mean, this thing was huge.
Yeah. In fact, there is a rock formation, and this is really weird. And I think I seen it on Josh Gates's exploration show or whatever. There is a rock formation that is called Anaconda Rock, and scientists are saying it's all a natural formation. That it's a natural one. But looking at it and the way it literally looks like someone with an artistic background had carved an anaconda out of this rock. But other scientists who are on the fringe science are saying that this is possibly an anaconda that got petrified over the millennia.
That was going to be my next question, Mark. You think it's a petrified anaconda?
It could be. Could very well be, because it literally, absolutely looks like an anaconda.
Well, you never know. I mean, they could have been around prehistoric.
Well, that's the whole thing. We don't know as much as we would like to know about our planet.
There's
so much here that
they just found in Canada let me think about this. I don't want to misspeak here. It was in Canada. Some mining team or something found a preserved woolly mammoth.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and that's because of the permafrost.
And this was the last
they're able to get
couple weeks. I mean, this is fresh. Yeah. And they just found one up there. Who knows what else they can find?
I don't know.
Well, a lot of the mammoth bones and tusks that they have found in the thawing permafrost up in the northern tier, they actually, believe it or not, have viable DNA in them.
Well, look how many times the
scientists have already said that they have plans once it's cleared to actually take that DNA and try to use the closest living species that would have been to the mammoth and try to bring back the mammoth.
Now, we've all seen Jurassic Park. This is not going to end well.
The mammoths, I can see it being okay with the mammoths, because if the mammoth are anything like the Asian elephant or the African elephant, I think it's the African elephant is the more docile, where the Asian one will actually charge you. But the African elephant is a more docile species, and mixing its DNA with a viable woolly mammoth DNA and trying to bring back the mammoth, I think they could possibly do that, or at least a hybrid. And if you take and create a hybrid, and then you take that hybrid and do the same thing with it with another pure DNA of a mammoth into that, then you've got closer to the mammoth.
You could string it along over the course of time to get
over a course of time. You could actually get up to like about a 90% mammoth.
Yeah. It'd be interesting. I mean, I'll give you that, but
Yeah.
once they do that, well, then before you know it, T-Rex is going to break loose somewhere and eat somebody's dog or something, and
know, man.
not going to be good.
You never know. The scientists may have found a way of
For $20, you can go to a local drugstore and get yourself a phone. That's going to be the next step.
go to the local drugstore and get ourselves a what?
Get yourself a phone.
A phone.
Phone.
Oh,
Cloned.
cloned.
I thought he said phone too originally, but yeah.
Get that mic up there so we can hear you.
And I really would have no doubt that somewhere in the world, whether it be in China or India or wherever, there's somebody out there playing God with some of this stuff as we speak.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dolly the sheep, right?
There you go. Perfect example.
Dolly the sheep is a clone. And I guarantee you, even though the United States government has outlawed scientific research in cloning humans, I guarantee you some country out there has cloned humans.
I agree.
Oh.
I would not be surprised hearing anything about that.
Right. The only reason that the United States has outlawed it is because they are saying ethical reasons. But there are countries out there like North Korea, Russia, China, United Arab Emirates. They don't have all this ethicalness.
Now here's the problem with phones. Okay, here's a question that have a real deep one for you to think about. Do they have a soul?
Well,
it's the $100,000 question, Joe.
Well, that is a good question. Okay, because now we're going to come right back to hauntings and spirits and everything else, because spirits are supposed to be the soul of the human that it released from. So, and supposedly, if you follow the Bible any, supposedly that soul is what gives life to the body itself. So if you've got a clone, does it have a soul? That is an interesting question, because what's giving life to that body?
Science.
Fact. I can't argue with it because it's a valid statement.
Yeah, it is, and it's crazy to think about, because
scary thought.
But here's even a better thought on that. All right, Joe, is that you?
No.
That's I'm looking at the ID on the TV, and it's some spam something. Go away.
Spam risk.
Just somebody that wants my money. That's all.
Yeah, I get those all the time. But the whole thing is too, now, if science is actually creating clones like that, then you're going to have this coming about, saying now science is replacing God, because if science is capable of creation, then how do we know that the person or being that we came from or are supposedly a part of wasn't just a scientist doing an experiment?
You don't know.
Everything's a theory.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody can have an opinion and nobody can be wrong.
Pretty much.
Otherwise.
No, it's Paranormal 101. Ask 100 different people, get 100 different answers.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you want to really dig deep, then there's, you got the science factor, you got the God factor. Then you've got people involved in the paranormal. Some people involved in the paranormal are religious. Some are agnostic. Mm-hmm. Some don't believe in God
atheist
whatsoever. They're atheist. And for me, I've always tried to wrap my head around that. So if you've got any kind of belief in spirit, but you don't have a belief in God, to me, that's 1 + 1 = 3. That's just an opinion.
Well, then you got the people that believe we were planted here by aliens,
and that's a whole nother thing. And if you've been watching any of the UFO alien kind of thing, okay, well, you got the Greys, you got the reptilians, you've got these I forget what they're called, but they're kind of like insect looking.
Insectoids.
Is that what it is, Mark? Insectoid? And then there's another one, the blue. I'm gonna probably screw this up, but the blue Syrians or something. I mean, so
no, I think you're right on that, the Syrians, but you also have the Nordics.
If that's true, then where are we based on? We're not based out of the insectoids, obviously. I would say, but are we from the blue? Are we?
No.
Kind of the Greys?
We are descendants from an indigenous species to this planet that was joined in DNA at the DNA level with the Anunnaki. We were created originally. Our species was created originally to mine gold for the Anunnaki. That's one of the reasons that the Egyptians in during the reign of the pharaohs, there was so much gold. Gold was a very abundant metal on this planet.
They claim that less than 10%'s been found. Now, my question with the Egyptians, because you're right, they always gold everything.
Gold and cat.
But yeah, really. But you never hear anything about any kind of mining. Where'd the gold come from?
Yeah, where'd it come from?
Well, that's just like the pyramids.
They didn't. I mean, there was only one major river, so they weren't panning for it like they were panning out west in the river. And you never hear any archaeological research on, well, we found this Egyptian gold mine, or
that is true. But what if use this little bit of a what if? Valley of the Kings is full of tombs, correct?
Correct.
What if before it was the Valley of the Kings, it was the Valley of Gold? And they mined it all out of there. And then used the remaining tunnels as tombs.
I'll grant you a point on that. I have never considered that aspect of it. That's for sure. Mm-hmm. That is for sure. But at least it gives some credence to where the gold came from.
Exactly. It's a theory. It's a hypothetical.
That's all we got. That's all we got to go on until somebody proves it. But anything's possible. I mean, we don't know. That's all they got. That's all they got when they decide how this was built or that was built or this was built this way and using old-fashioned tools. But wait a minute, you have proof of that? No.
And yet, they've got these walls and these structures.
Exactly.
Where the tolerances are so tight, you can't even slide a piece of paper in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you had some guy with a hammer and a chisel doing that? I don't know.
Okay, that is actually hard to believe, because if you think about it, look at the time frames that these walls and stuff were built, and the pyramids,
Stonehenge.
with the precise angles, the precise or the precision of the fit and everything. During that time, the tools that science has actually determined them to have were made of bronze and copper. Bronze and copper couldn't cut that precise on granite.
Agreed. Granite's way too hard.
Granite is a hard material. Granite also has crystalline surfaces in it. That's where quartz is actually embedded in granite if you really look at it. There are little pieces of quartz in there.
Mm.
So were they able to somehow use a diamond? Use diamond. That's supposedly the hardest material on the face of the earth. But
Yeah,
then again, how were they able to use diamond on in that kind of a situation?
how did they cut the diamond to make a tool out of diamond? What did they cut it with?
Exactly.
Not copper.
Not copper.
You know,
and not bronze.
bronze.
And
No,
during that time,
somewhere.
but see, during that time, the iron and steel age hasn't come around. The Iron Age happened, I think, in the late 1700s, early 1800s, and then steel came right after that.
Yeah.
So,
but everything out there, whether it be Egyptian, whether it be South American, whether it be Asian, all of that stuff is way older than that.
and then since we're talking about this, the pyramids and everything, and Egyptian, you've got the Incans, you got the Mayans, you got pyramids there,
Mm-hmm.
and then what was found in some of those pyramids, that young girl went exploring with her dad down in South America, and they found that crystal skull. Now,
Yeah.
science actually examined that skull and determined that there's no way that man of the time that was supposedly made could have carved that without, in that smooth of a manner, without some chipping or cracking of that
Cracking, or there was no tooling available for that.
No.
At least not on this planet,
and the studies they've done on that particular skull shows that there's no tool marks on it.
I've heard that.
So
yeah, totally smooth surface,
So how in the hell can you do that without any kind of tool marks? You're going to leave something.
Something, yeah, some kind of mark.
So there again, we have the possibility of alien connection with all that. There are scientists and philosophers and researchers who are on what would be considered the fringe science. They say that there are 13 original skulls, and if you take the 12 originals, and then you place the one in the center, and you have them all facing, it creates that it will actually create a supercomputer type system, because man has already discovered that you can store information in crystal. It's the silicone that the crystal's made out of.
Well, that's what chips are out of, silicon.
Yeah. That's what our computers are. Our computers, they got random access memory. Our hard drives
For nothing.
Our hard drives are made of that silicone type material, and they store the zeros and ones in certain combinations, and when they're recovered and This is what we get right here.
That's what we get right. Yeah, right now. That's it. That's it. All these conversations, Mark, they go in one big circle. If you know what I'm saying.
Everything. It's all connected.
We started.
All
We
connected.
go all the way around the block, and we come back to where we started, and we still don't know a damn thing.
Exactly. But the whole thing is, while you're doing your little walk around the block and the things that you're seeing, you hypothesizing. You're coming up with possibilities.
But that's all we have. That's all we have.
Yeah, and that is all we have until we can absolutely prove it. And sometimes science is so sure of what they've got, and they do everything and prove it. And then all of a sudden, it's like, wait a minute, we proved that last year, but now it's doing something different.
Yeah, and now this or that is not working the way we thought it would. Well, what the hell?
Right itself a few times. I mean, think about it. Every time they said, "Oh, this thing went extinct 20,000 years ago," but yesterday it just washed up on the shores of Japan, or
Oh, he's talking about the coelacanth.
Yeah.
Or something.
You know
what I'm saying?
Within the last 2 years, there's been quite a few species that have been discovered that we didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
That too.
And we've also had...
They thought Megalodon, and then they find a tooth. Every now and then they find a tooth. Oh, no, I guess it actually expired this many thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's the whole thing. We can't really say that Megalodon is still in existence.
Well, no,
but we can't really say that it's not either.
No, their whole thing's saying, especially when it comes to the sea creatures.
Now we're talking
of the ocean. The whole thing is, their whole thing is based on theories.
Yeah.
They haven't seen it in a while.
Well, like I said, we have...
Unless you drain that son of a gun and start looking around on the bottom, you're never going to know,
It might take a lifetime to do, though.
Us as a species have only explored about 15% of the ocean. We know more about the outer space in our planetary system outside of our atmosphere than we know about our oceans on this planet.
Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct.
That's because most of those people spend too much time looking into the skies and the stars.
Mm-hmm. They got their heads in the sky, in the clouds.
Exactly.
They got their heads somewhere, but we're not going to get into all that right now, But I will say I do watch the skies a lot closer than what I used to.
Oh yeah, I find myself doing that too.
Even just driving down the highway, I find myself glancing up and just, oh really? What? Oh, okay.
I think I do that now more not because I started in the paranormal thing, because I started in the paranormal thing with Mark after I moved out here. Okay, at least a couple of years. But the difference between here and where I was living now is there's no street lights, no traffic, so when you look up in the sky, it's like being in the middle of the country, in the middle of nowhere. It
doesn't have the
really
light
cool.
You don't have the light pollution. That's one of the
that light pollution. Not real close to an airport, so you see things moving.
We have an expression at our house, and you heard me talking about Nevada and Arizona earlier, and we have a thing at our house. It's called Nevada Dark. Now, what's Nevada Dark? Our description of Nevada Dark is this: black. Because when you're out in the middle of nowhere, Nevada or Arizona, or I've been in New Mexico too, you're way out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
If it's not a full moon night, if it's a dark night or it is just black.
Dark.
It's
like
not like not like Wisconsin dark. Yeah, it's dark, but there's light from the farmhouse down the road, and there's this or that. No, it's dark.
Yeah, Joshua Tree National Park. That's a good example.
Good example.
Once you're there and you're there after dark, you better have your camp set up, or you're not going to be able to see shit.
Oh,
yeah, it's true.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
I haven't been much out of Wisconsin. Been to Vegas once. We can go into that joke.
Yeah. Once you get to Vegas, Joe, you got to hit the highway and get out of Vegas.
No, this is the one thing he did in Vegas that didn't stay in
They
Vegas.
lied to me. They got that thing. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Man, they lied to me. Went to Vegas, got married. She came home with me. She didn't like that joke the first time I told it, of course. But no, I was trying to find a Texas Hold'em game. I finally found one, and it was kind of too late. But I won the trip, so I got to go to Vegas at least once. Yeah. Been to Iowa more than once. I've been to several times, but they kind of like border Wisconsin, so it's been to Minnesota, but that's it.
So I've been to Vegas probably, and I'm probably being conservative, 25 times.
Wow,
that's it.
But you gotta understand though, Vegas I use as either my starting point or my finishing point.
Yeah.
Because you can always get air to Vegas. Always.
Yeah.
So you can start in Vegas and then you hit the road and you go up through Beatty, you go up to Pioche, you go to Ely, or you go into Arizona, you go to Chloride, you go to Jerome. I mean, it's just such a good place to do a starting point of a road trip. Mm-hmm. Or finish one. I give you another example. One year, I flew into Reno, and then went from Reno to Vegas. There are.
Once you got past Carson City, it was probably darker than dark.
Oh, darker than dark, but there's so many cool para places you can hit out there, and there's things that you can do out there and investigate. And you don't have to pay to play.
Yep.
You just do it.
Well, that place scares the hell out of me after what I learned when I came back. I was reading a story about Vegas and all the tunnels that were built underneath Vegas, and now you got a lot of people living in those tunnels.
Oh, there's quite a big homeless population out there that live in these tunnels, and when they get their occasional thunderstorm, those tunnels turn into raging rivers and flush all the homeless out, and then when it recedes, they go back in there again.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And drug addicts and
all your kind of street type life is underground there, and it's very dangerous to go in there, and because they're a very tight knit community under there, and yeah, I would not want to go anywhere near one of those places after what I was reading.
Right. Joe, I tell you, you wouldn't catch me going down in one. At least not unless I was with a big enough group.
I saw a video of a reporter going down there talking to some of these people, and it's like, my God, she's got the big cojones to be doing this with her and just a cameraman. Yeah. I mean, I'd have an army of bodyguards with me or something.
It can be very dangerous. Very dangerous.
Drug addicts that are God knows what, and who knows what could set those fuckers off. and
Oh,
then
yeah,
they're raging on you, and yeah,
know,
try to stop them.
I mean, we have a homeless problem in city of Milwaukee, but compared to what I've seen in some western states, Portland, Oregon is another good example. Homeless in Milwaukee is nothing, nothing compared to Vegas, Portland.
Sure. I'm sure. I mean, Madison's not that bad either. I mean, Madison, their shelters will get kind of like, where they've got like a limit on so many times. I used to see people every now and then, but not too often. I think there's sometimes more scammers out there in Madison than there are, you know. I learned that the hard way once. Gave somebody money,
You're talking about
and
the panhandlers.
yeah, the ones that are out there with the
Yeah.
street signs saying that they're homeless or something. You give them a few bucks, and the next thing you know, you see them sitting there driving a fancy car and living in, a high rent district.
Joe, I've seen that here. I see the guys on the street corners. I could take you to a couple street corners right now. I guarantee you, there'll be at least 2, 3 people. Everybody's got their designated spot,
Yep.
and I've seen guys on the corner one day, and then on the weekend in a totally different neighborhood. I see them dressed totally different with their kids or with their girlfriend or wife or whoever, and
Yep.
so when I see those people, they get nothing out of me. I'd rather donate to a shelter directly. That way,
Yeah, it's the best
I
thing
know
to
it's
do.
getting used for that reason, just for
The
to give
shelters,
us
the churches,
exactly. I agree. It's that's really the only way to do it. There's just too many scams out there. Guys looking for free money.
Well, not only that, there are some that are just never got help. There was when I was a kid, a younger kid, 'cause I grew up in Madison, Wisconsin, not far from Milwaukee, of course. Um, and there was this old veteran, and he used to walk around and pour honey in his beard and just walk around the Capitol Square saying, "Why, why, why?" And you'd see him sleeping in the summer times in the bus shelters and stuff. Guy ended up, he wouldn't take money from anybody. He wasn't like going around panhandling or anything. People would just give him money, and sometimes he'd get pissed off if it set him off. And one day it just came out in the news, and I recognized the picture. The guy passed away. Everybody knew him as this crazy old coot that used to walk around State Street in the Capitol area just saying why. That's all they'd say. And he lived in a mansion in a very rich neighborhood. Yeah, he was loaded. And when he became loaded, he just couldn't handle the money. He couldn't handle being rich. He was a veteran that lived on his benefits and learned to live, you know, a very poor life for so long he couldn't handle that anymore. He only slept there in the winter time.
Over the course of time, I've seen guys that lived in a house in the winter and were out on the street in the summer, and you talk to them. Some of these guys are actually very intelligent people, and they'll tell you right out they prefer to live the way they live. There's a thing where, oh, we got to help these people and we got to help these people. Okay, yeah, I get that to a point, but when you talk to some of these individuals one to one, and I've done it,
Mm-hmm.
they know exactly what they're doing,
Yeah.
and they
This guy did.
prefer to live that way.
I mean, I could see how, living a certain way and just not wanting, you're set in your ways because you got a daily routine, and then all of a sudden you're given all this money out of nowhere. Now what do you do? You know, the guy doesn't want to change his routine. He, probably didn't like change at all, but he
Yeah.
couldn't get nothing out of him. I tried to talk to him several times, and He did not. He was not a very decent people person either. After that, but people tried to look out for him all the time, and I
Yeah,
saw him frequently.
there's all kinds. I mean, there's guys that I've seen through the court, where my shop is. I mean, there's guys that I've seen that would be living like in the general area 3, 4, 5 years.
Yeah,
But again, only in the summer. You never saw them in the winter.
nope. I never saw this. Nobody ever saw him in the wintertime.
That I mean, they had to be living somewhere.
Well, that's what I thought and hoped. You know, that's because the guy never hurt nobody, never bothered anybody. You know, he was just walking around yelling "why" all the time, and we always wondered, why he was always asking why, and we figured maybe it had something to do with, why did he get the money? He didn't want it. I don't think he wanted it. I really don't.
Yeah, could be.
And then it just messed him up after that. The guy had a pretty impressive. I was never in the military, but I do know enough about it because of my stepfather, my father, and so on and so forth. But he had a very impressive military record. So who knows what set him off? But it was just a sad story because
PTSD.
The money changed
Yeah.
in a bad way.
And so many of the guys out there are veterans.
Yeah, and that's sad
Yeah.
too sometimes.
And that's a whole nother conversation, and it's a sad situation too.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of the reasons they're on the street is because of the PTSD that they have experienced during
That and the government.
tours. Not just the government. It's PTSD really, being in a stressful situation like they have put them through in Iraq and Iran and Desert Storm and Kuwait and all that shit, that really fucked a lot of guys up.
Well, that and then they come back home, and the people and their loved ones expect them to be the same person they were when they left.
And they can't be.
They can't
be. I know. I know guys my age. I know guys older than me. Vietnam vets. Now I'm talking about. Okay,
I know a Vietnam vet really well.
And I tell you, some of these guys are nice guys, but they're not right. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They are not right. Nam just fucked them up.
Oh, bad.
Nam fucked a lot of people up.
Actually, Nam actually ended up killing my friend. I mean, because of that ancient Agent Orange.
I know one guy that was, how can I say it, goofy as a bedbug.
Yeah.
From Agent Orange.
Mm-hmm.
I knew him before. I knew him after. I mean, not nice guy, but just after Agent Orange, that just really, really scrambled his eggs, so to speak. He was never right after that. Never.
I know. This guy I didn't know him before, but I knew him after, and man, he was a nice guy, but he scared the hell out of me to be around him sometimes because you never know what was going to set him off or what was going to happen next. From time. He was very unpredictable, but most of the time he was a very nice guy, very good family man, loved his kids, and all of that. But I had heard about a few times and witnessed a few times when the guy got set off, and it wasn't pretty, I mean, he'd go into these states where he'd bring out photo albums from Nam, and man, that stuff is, yeah. And I used to love horror movies. I used to watch horror movies till I got married all the time, so nothing bothered me. But those pictures bothered me, And to bring them out during Thanksgiving, that was not good.
Yeah, that's not family dinner fodder, shall we say?
He was showing them like they were trophies. You know, I mean,
Hmm.
but what do you expect when the guy's like a Green Beret and he was trained to do one thing, just like Rambo. He was trained to kill, no question. Period. That's it.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty sad that, and then they come back and they get no help. You know, or not the proper help.
Not the proper help. I mean, the worst healthcare system in this country, in my opinion, is veterans hospitals.
VA. I've seen one of them.
You know.
Personal. You know, because I spent a lot of time in the UW hospital, which in Madison is attached to, well, I don't know if it still is, but it was attached to
It's
the VA
attached.
hospital at the time.
You
And
can go. You can go from the Veterans
right,
Hospital right into the Madison
right.
UW.
So, well, I used to do that because during the time I was suffering from leukemia, I had relatives that ended up over there a few times. So I ended up going to visit them. And it's like the conditions between the two places were, like black and white. They were extremely,
Uh,
you know. It wasn't it was like visiting some of the nursing homes when I walked into the VA. The smell, you could tell that sometimes it wasn't as clean. The staff weren't as nice. And it's like Jesus Christ, But then
I
you go
have to
back to the other
say,
place and it's
it's
pretty
gotten better.
sterile. But still, I know a couple of my uncles that were there. If they would have gotten better care at, say, UW next door or St. Mary's or Mad John, as it was called at one time, Meritor, you know, they probably would have survived, you know,
yeah, I believe it.
you know. I mean, they would have gotten better treatment, better care, and the condition that killed them would have gotten caught a lot sooner.
A lot sooner and
Right.
more appropriate treatment, I'm sure.
Right, where it could have been prevented or at least treated so that it didn't kill them, extended their life by years, you know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the VA hospital. I've seen too many vets pass away once they get there and have to stay too long. You know, it's just,
Hospitals are good places to do investigations if you can ever get a chance to.
yeah, yeah, right. Like they'd give you permission, you know.
Well, you got to go to Waverly, or you got to go to
Yeah, I'd like to go to that
old,
place someday.
Old South Pittsburgh. I've been there. Been to Waverly. Been to
Well,
Pollock
Waverly, wow.
Hospital in Peoria, and that's not that far away. Peoria. I mean, you do that in the night.
Yeah, they always.
We might actually have to. We might actually have to put one together here.
Yeah, there was another spot I think it was it. I don't know what it was, but our buddy Dale was just in Peoria doing an investigation or posting a
Peoria.
picture from an investigation there.
So, what was he at Pollock?
I'm not sure.
Because Pollock Hospital is in Peoria.
It was either that or like a cemetery or something. I go through and read so many buddies' posts and see all these things that it's kind of hard to keep track of them all.
I know it all kind of scrambles together. I'm the same way sometimes looking at my own stuff.
Right.
Because when I download my computer, oftentimes I'm downloading it because I've got to make room because we're doing something else, and then I don't label it always like right away, and then was this here or there or guilty as charged?
I do that all the time. Guilty. I mean, my hard drive on my desktop computer is a mess. We've been dropping stuff on here, changing the logo or something.
Both of these are 1 terabyte full.
Wow.
Plus this laptop, and I've got 3 more laptops sitting right there.
Well,
And it's para, and
8 terabyte.
no room for porn.
I've got an 8 terabyte external on the floor that's about half full, and there's about 2 terabytes in the computer itself that are pretty much full. So yeah, I know what it's like.
You know, they're just.
Lots of folders to go through. Not
I
all of
mean,
them labeled correctly.
any paranormal investigator that tells you other than what I'm about to say is lying, because we've all got evidence from that case we did like 10 years ago, and we still haven't reviewed all of that. And now we're going to take that plus the one we did after that, and the one we did after that, and the one we did after that.
Yeah, we're sitting on some stuff. Let's see.
I could retire and have a full-time job just reviewing footage that I got, but that's not going to happen because
Our Iowa trip from last year,
mm-hmm.
that was 2 locations for that trip. None of that footage
Well,
has been
you know,
totally
there's
reviewed, edited, or put out there.
there's something going on at one of your locations in that Iowa trip when you have 5 pieces of equipment subsequently fail.
I don't think that building liked you very much. I really don't. Are you sure you didn't go to school there in like a prior life or something?
Don't know.
I mean,
Where did you go?
We were
Farrar
at
School.
Farrar School in Maxwell, Iowa.
I've been to Farrar. In fact, we have a video on our YouTube channel of Farrar.
Man,
Yeah.
that place is insane.
I walked in there with attitude.
I had to walk
And
out after
I
being
had
in there for 5 minutes because I got sick.
5 pieces of equipment subsequently fail on me.
He couldn't get into his laptop at all, and he knew the password.
Oh no!
He was typing in the correct password because when he got
I
home,
typed it in 4 times and it would not let me in that computer.
I
when
saw
I
it.
got
I was
home-
witness to that. He was getting pissed.
When I got home, I typed it in again and it
First try.
was right up.
One time,
Yeah.
first time, and he
Yep.
was in.
Yep.
Yeah, it really makes you think. What the hell?
I had an audio. I had my audio recorder fail. My body camera only recorded audio. It didn't record any video. My
The ball
regular
move.
camera. My
We saw a ball
regular
move across the floor.
my regular camera. It recorded fine on the first battery. When I changed out the battery, it showed it was recording. But when I went to pull that information off the card, it was corrupt. It wouldn't play on anything, wouldn't show on anything, but it showed the files that it recorded.
Yeah, I've had that happen years ago where it was recording, but I couldn't download it to save my life.
We
And
got
you know
some
what
bad
caused it all?
vibes out of that boiler room too.
You want to cause it all?
What's that?
You know where the gym is.
I do.
Okay, and on that one end, that room that goes into that door goes into that room just before the boiler room.
We spent a lot of time in that room. I know.
What caused it all? I had my body camera on, I had my voice recorder in my hand, and I had my flashlight with me. And something in that room kept catching me. It kept catching my eye, drawing my attention. So I said, "Fine. All right, you want to talk to me? Let's talk." So I walked through that door. I walked into the boiler room, kicked on my flashlight, and I'm standing in there provoking the hell out of this thing. And I was like, "Come on, I'm here. Let's go.
I don't
Let's
know
do
why
this.
he does
Let's
that.
talk. Let's go. Come on, come show yourself." I want, and it all of a sudden it's just everything. All my equipment started failing. All my shit started quitting on me.
You're
You
right.
pissed off.
Oh, I pissed it off. I pissed it off big time.
Pissed it off. That's it.
But then the other location we went to was pretty interesting too, and we didn't realize how interesting till we got back here, because we've been recently reviewing some of the audio, and it wasn't us; it was the person that was with us asked us to review our audio, so we did it. And Mark caught something at the Buddy Holly crash site that really was kind of strange, and I couldn't believe my ears when I heard that either.
Okay,
What did you get?
I have two voice recorders. I had both of them going. My girlfriend was holding one, I was holding the other, and the one she was holding, it didn't record anything, and I'm not sure why. But the one I had, I was recording, and I got everything in our vicinity, and Joe was recording with his camera. He got everything on video in our vicinity. Dale was using his laptop with his Phasma box, and the guy that was with him, Mikey, he was playing music on his
through his
phone
phone.
for like La Bamba and a Big
Oh,
Bopper,
sure.
Stuff like
Like
that.
asking
Tell
who,
Trying,
Bass,
trying
whatever.
to trying to trigger.
he was trying to get answers to who sung this.
Not one of us heard this until I actually started listening to the audio. The audio from my recorder,
About a
I
year later.
actually caught a single prop plane in the distance, and it sounded like it was coming in towards us, and then it would go, and it went out away from us. And it's about a 3 minute, 3 to 4 minute long clip in that.
And you didn't see anything airborne.
Nobody remembers hearing or
Nobody
seeing
remembers
anything.
hearing or seeing anything up there.
And
And
that,
I'm pretty
that
damn
sound didn't
sure,
show up on the
knowing where
audio
we
of
were.
the video.
Yeah, it didn't show up on Joe's audio from
So
his video camera. It wasn't on that audio.
it wasn't on the audio. It was only on the
It was only on
personal,
my recorder.
his personal recorder.
My
Both
my
fine.
my one voice recorder that recorded.
You know, it always amazes me. You get one thing, you can have two people with a recorder, one person gets something, other person gets Jack Diddley.
But there was
when
more
we
than
did,
just there
You
was
know?
more going on because Dale didn't get it on his camera footage or any of his his personal recorders either that he had going while we were doing all of this.
so, but also when we were up in Grafton doing the mill, I had my camera upstairs in the yoga area where it's all open. And we were up actually doing an EVP, and I had a voice recorder sitting on the table next to me. Kayla was again, my daughter Kayla. She was recording with Joe's camera, and we're sitting there doing an EVP, and this person from the house that you're doing here, he's talking about, come talk to us because I got a piece of pizza for you. And he kind of turned around in his chair. Well, just after he said that, I hear what sounded like someone. It sounded like someone whispered, and I'm like, "Did you guys hear that?" And nobody really heard it, but I did catch it on my camera's audio, Joe's camera's audio, and my voice recorder. So I have all three pieces where, and then once you bring it up on the voice recorder, you can hear it. It's somebody whistled. And,
Interesting.
But it's on all three of those.
I mean, when you get it on all three, that's like a home run in my opinion. But you bring up the whistling, and we do have one capture that we had from somebody's location that we've been discussing, but will remain nameless. And somebody is whistling on this damn EVP. Now, I can't whistle to save my life, and neither can Dennis. And we were the only ones there.
Well,
but somebody was whistling.
This particular person, whatever he said is what triggered, I believe, this sound. And if that's true, then this may be following him, not just attached to that house.
I don't know.
Well, you know yourself. I mean, you can have the location be haunted. Mm-hmm. You can have an object be haunted, but you can also have a person
Right. Have
Mhm.
something
haunted.
attached to 'em following 'em
And
around.
from what I've seen so far, is that this is kind of like this case is kind of like an onion. You peel off that first
Yeah.
layer. Hey, wait a minute, there's something else here, and then you peel that, and oh, I didn't expect this was going to be here.
Right. I
You
think it
know.
has to do more with the town.
It,
I
it
think
could
that
it could be. I don't know.
I think there's more to that town than people want to talk about. I think there's probably more activity than we know going on there. Because some of the research that I ran into, um, I can't remember all the exact dates, but I know it was like somewhere in the 18 or 17 or 1800. There was a fire, massive fire. Okay, and
That's right. It was right after the mention of the fire when the water came on in the bathroom.
That's interesting.
and then after that happened, because when it happened, that town did not have that town wasn't named what it was named now back then, for one, but it didn't have a fire department. Well, it does now, but here's the strange part. Unlike any other town, if you do your research, most other towns you can find how when, and what the exact date was, and all the paperwork for the fire department being formed.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't for this town. It's kind of like a
Joe
mystery.
never found any. I'll
I
be right
couldn't
back. I
find
got
it.
to use the bathroom.
There's a lot of things I couldn't find after the fire happened. You know, you
And
know,
and
and
where did you
and
find that, Joe? In the historical society, or?
no, this was like an internet search. I was just digging deep into town, reading all the little myths and legends and all the different stuff about Grafton, Wisconsin. You know, and then I found out I don't remember what it was exactly called beforehand, but it was called something else before that. Okay,
You
and then
know,
I looked up that
I,
town's
I've
history as much as I could.
I've heard the name, Joe, of what it was called before, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. But you are right; it
We've
was a
got so
different
many
name. It
different
was.
so many different things, and lately my mind, because we've got this big project going on that we've been sitting on for 2 years, and we're going to finally put something together because we're going to release it at the Milwaukee Paranormal Conference Saturday, October 15th this year,
Okay.
and we're going to release our Bray Road footage, and we're hoping to have Lee Hampel and Dale Kismerick there as our guests.
Cool.
So,
That should be good.
and we've been sitting on 2 years worth of footage, and we're not done yet with that place. So it's going to be a whole different point of view.
I hope you got some good stuff.
It's very interesting. We'll tell you some of it, but we'll do it off camera because we don't want to give too much away before we get to that.
Yeah.
I understand totally.
But
I
no,
under.
what I was saying earlier,
What's that, Mark?
I should set up one here in my house. My house was built in 1900, and we've only been in it for about a month, and I've already heard some stuff in here.
I
When
like
we were
his kitchen.
just moving
He's got a
in,
nice
I
kitchen.
came upstairs. All the upstairs is got plywood on it.
I don't like the upstairs though.
So I came upstairs and I was doing something up here, and I went to go back downstairs. And as I was walking through the little area to get to the stairs, I heard what sounded like something scratch across the plywood. And it wasn't coming from the attic, and it wasn't coming from inside the walls. It was in the same room or area that I was in, and I could
I
hear this.
I know the sound. I know the sound.
Yep. And I heard that, but I haven't really heard a lot after that. But I know there's activity here. and I probably kind of caused some of it because
Yeah, you probably provoked it there too by now. I'm sure.
Well,
Same for me. You know,
no,
I
no,
mean,
I
This
had
isn't it, you go.
just before we moved into the house completely. I had a patio door put in. Never had one there. It was a big 65 by 50 something picture window up there, and I had that removed and had it
That,
all
that
put
didn't
out.
make. Yeah, that didn't make
Had a
sense.
patio. Had
They
the
had
patio door
they
put in.
had this big ass picture window there, but yet they had a deck right below it.
They had the deck. There was a deck in the back, and they never had a patio door in to get to the deck.
That's it never made sense.
that from a design perspective, that makes no sense whatsoever.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, there's a patio door there now,
Nice
and there's
house,
steps,
nice long driveway. Nice
and
front
there's
porch
steps.
area.
So there's a cookout at Mark's house, is what you're saying.
Oh,
Yeah.
there's
We'll get some
Wow.
of our paranormal groups.
You know, all para people. You know,
We'll get some of our paranormal groups together to do an investigation of Mark's house, and I'll cook out.
there we go.
yeah, I'll be there tomorrow.
You know, but you know, I live in an older house too, 1923. And things have happened here over the course of time, but I think a lot of it has been things that have kind of followed me home.
I know this place has got some activity. I swear it does. Fucking Bernie's been fucking with me ever since we moved in here. I know it. You know, I'm almost positive. You know, they. I think he passed away in his bed in the bedroom.
Yeah, Joe's house is used. It kind of stays in the family. It was Tanya's relative, right? Her aunt.
It was her aunt's husband's uncle that owned the place or something.
No, so you know,
Yeah.
roundabout.
Yeah, has been relative around the block kind of deal. You know,
Yeah.
Yep.
We've all got them.
But anyway, yeah, you could. Yeah, he had this thing out on the porch area that was attached to the side because it's a mobile home, and it was attached to the side of the home. He used that to clean the fish on. You know. Yeah, you
Gotta clean them somewhere, I guess.
right, but
I'm not a fisherman, so
neither am I. But I'm just saying, this guy, you can tell there are just some strange shit going on here at times. You know, I still bet. I don't know. I mean, this guy just some crazy shit. Stuff turns up missing. I bet it's still missing when we go to move. You know,
I have had stuff happen here over the years.
Light
Shit just disappears, and sometimes when it reappears, you're scratching your head. You're going. Let me give you an example, and then you give me your thoughts on this. Okay, so I have a detached garage that faces an alley, so I have no driveway. Okay.
Okay.
So a few years back, I got to cut the grass. I'm in the garage putting gas in the lawnmower, and I drop the gas cap to the lawnmower. Now, keep in mind, if it's going to roll out of the garage, it's going to roll into the alley, not toward the house. But it didn't roll into the alley. I kind of saw it. It kind of rolled under some shelving I got in there, and I'm on my hands and knees looking with the flashlight. I can't find it. Well, I'm thinking it'll turn up when I move or pull a snowblower out or whatever the hell I'm doing.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll pop up eventually. Okay. Summer goes into fall. I don't find it. Fall goes to winter. Winter goes to spring. I don't find it. The next year in the summer, okay, so I got my house, I got the garage. There's a sidewalk that goes from the house to the garage. And I am walking out to the garage one day, and here is the gas cap right in the middle of the sidewalk.
What? And you didn't see it for a whole year.
Well, Joe, it's not only not seeing it, through the course of the winter, that sidewalk has been shoveled and snow blown, you know,
Somebody's fucking with you.
20 times, 30 times, and no marks on it, like from an animal chewing on it, no, nothing, but just sitting right
Look,
in the middle
That's
of
some kind of a spirit,
sidewalk.
with some kind of prankster or something.
I got to admit, I have this shit happen to some degree or another all the freaking time. Just never anything, terrifying. Never anything like that show, A Ghost Ruined My Life or whatever. I don't know if you ever saw the commercial for that show, but people will tell some terrifying story. Never anything like that,
Right.
but just weird shit. Just shit that makes no logical sense.
Yeah.
You lose something for like a year, and it comes and it.
Well, to a spirit or a ghost, it makes sense because they're laughing their ass off.
Oh yeah, like I got you, fucker. But gone for a year, and I thought if I ever did find it, it was going to be in the garage when I moved. Something.
Outside the garage, it was going to be all chewed up by a squirrel or
run over by a car in the alley or stepped on. No, perfect. Perfect, just the way it was when I lost it.
Yeah, see, now that I would understand if it was found under a shelf.
And that's Joe. That's what I expected. I thought, well, one of these days I'm going to move. I'll be pulling out something for the wife's garden or something, and it's going to be laying there, and okay, there it is. But that was not the case.
Well, you got a spirit.
And even let's take it a step further. Let's say somebody would say, "Oh well, it was downhill and it just rolled." And well, first off, like I said before, that walk has been shoveled and snow blown umpteen times, but also. The pitch from the house to the garage, the pitch is toward the garage, not toward the house. Mm-hmm. Shit don't roll uphill.
No.
Not unless it's got a dung beetle behind it.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe. But I don't see a lot of dung beetles in Milwaukee. That's for sure. But explain to me other than something para.
Well, you can't.
How the hell that's even possible? It's not.
You picked up somewhere along your your investigations. You picked up a mischievous spirit.
Yeah, and nothing malicious, but just
no, it's not malicious. It's mischievous.
It's mischievous, just
like a kid.
Well, that's what I was just about to say. You can't blame that on like local kids either, because a local kid and. What the fuck would they want with a gas cap?
Thank you. Thank you. Makes no sense.
It doesn't. It doesn't make sense in that aspect, because if they were going to take something, take the fucking lawnmower.
Oh, yeah, hello. Yeah, take the fucking lawnmower. You don't take the gas cap,
Exactly my point.
Well, I don't have that problem.
When you got this kind of weird shit happening, you don't have to make stuff up, because you got enough real stuff that happened to you that made people go, "What the hell?"
And just knowing what you see on the news and stuff nowadays, if they had a beef with you and they were going to take revenge on you, they'd break a window or flatten your tires or something
burn
like
your
that.
goddamn garage down.
With a little
yeah, exactly. And like I said, this is not the only thing like this that's happened. But
a ghost or a spirit or something that wants to laugh at you, that I can see.
Oh, they were laughing their asses off too, I'm sure. But true story, I swear. True story.
Well,
And
it could even be that they got tired of waiting for you to find it and they found it for you.
well, that could be too. Like, here, take the damn thing.
But he was watching over you.
It was so weird. If something would have, like I said, rolled into the alley, well, it would have got run over. It would be from laying out in the elements, be rustier than hell.
Mm-hmm.
But nope.
Especially here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, exactly. But not
faster than shit back in the day.
Not the case. And there, I'll give you another story. We have a wooden deck out on the back of the house. We have motion lights, so if you come to the backyard, come by the deck, the lights go on. I've also had German Shepherds for like 40 years. So if my neighbor 2 houses down farts, believe me, my dog knows it. Okay. Okay? German Shepherds can hear things that, Joe, you'll never hear, is my point.
No, but the way you said that, and think about it, German Shepherds are primarily used as the dogs that sniff out the drugs at the airport.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
They've got one of the best noses of dog breed, the canine breeds, right? So you say your neighbor farts too.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, it is funny, but yeah. Anyway, so we had this happen 4, maybe 5 times, where we'd be sitting here in the evening, and you know yourself, if you've got a wooden deck or a wooden porch, there's a certain kind of sound when somebody walks up those wooden stairs versus like walking, let's say, like on concrete stairs. Deck stairs have a certain distinct noise. And what would happen is we'd be sitting here later in the night watching TV, or each of us will sit there. I'm reviewing on my laptop and my wife's doing whatever. She's on Facebook or, whatever. You'll hear somebody coming up the deck. The lights will go on. You'll go and look. Nobody's there. Week or 2 go by, nothing happened. Another week comes, and it happens again. And when it happens, my dog's ears are straight up. He hears it. He's at that back door in half of a second. And I'll go to look. Nobody's there. It got to the point where every time it happened, my wife would just go, "It's for you."
But you had like motion sentence.
Yeah. Motion. Joe, you could say, let's say, like in the fall, well, the leaves were blowing and that caused the motion light to go on. Okay. On an individual basis, I accept that. But when you tie that in with the fact that you hear somebody walking up wooden steps,
time to put up a camera.
That's what I was thinking. You need a camera out there with those motion lights.
I'd put up a camera right next to the motion light.
I got trail cams. That could be done, but now it hasn't happened for 3-4 years. But for a while there, it was happening every couple of weeks.
Now you're in Milwaukee. That would
correct?
Correct.
Yeah, correct.
Wow. Then that don't make sense either. Because, it has to be something, but yet, what? Because I would say if he was like out here by me, I'd say it was a deer maybe or something, walking in your front lawn or something. But down there, I probably doubt it.
No deer. No, I have seen fox, coyote, possums, the typical small mammal thing. But even with that, even my dog coming up the back steps does not sound the same sound as a person coming up those deck steps. It's not the same kind of sound.
No, it wouldn't be.
It was always a very distinct somebody walking up the stairs.
Some of those animals are a lot lighter than a human anyway.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but let lights pop on, dog's ears go up, he's on alert, who's here, and nobody there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So something something like me or something wanted to play with me or
Hey, you never
Who
know.
knows? I don't
you
know.
know.
I just know that when a dog goes off, I trust that dog. I trust
Amen to
my
that.
dog than I trust more humans. Most humans.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
I've got a purebred Siberian Husky, and she starts to get edgy and start looking out windows and stuff around here. Something's up.
Yeah, you know to pay attention.
She sees something out there. You know. I mean, she'll let a burglar in a heartbeat. I mean, she's not the best protective guard dog there is because she'll just lay on her back and say, "Rub my belly, and I'll
Rub
show you
yeah, belly rub, yeah.
where all the valuables are." But which that's a husky for you. But yeah, but when it comes to something being out in the yard or in the yard or around there, she's pretty alertive. So start staring out the window and making noises or wanting to go outside, and there's a critter or something
Oh
there.
yeah, yeah. Well, like by us, like lately, we've had a lot of rabbits and raccoons, but
I think
that's typical.
I
That's
think that's what
typical.
she caught and ate the other day. I think she actually caught and ate a rabbit the other day, a baby rabbit.
Oh, Hassenpfeffer.
Yeah, yeah, because they live under the deck, I think, or porch.
No, we've never had that under the deck. We have had a dead possum under our deck, though. I don't know how the hell he got in there, but that was kind of creepy looking because they got like little fangs, and he kind of died with his mouth half open, or maybe that's just when they die, their mouth just kind of stays open, but kind of freaky looking.
I know what they look like. I used to see them all the time when I worked in Madison, man. They used to be around the Railback building all the time, the plant.
Mm.
Yeah, well, possums are actually very beneficial. They eat ticks and fleas.
Yeah, they do.
Read that.
Yeah, possums are very good to
And
have around.
they're almost immune to diseases.
I'll
Very
never
rarely will you ever see one that ever gets rabies.
I was just gonna say, I'll never forget that day I went outside because the dog was barking so bad, and I went outside. I can't remember if it was Nitro or if it was Joy that was out there, and they went nose to nose with a rabid raccoon. You know, and it's like got the dog in, called animal control. They sent out the police department, and all they did was, and meanwhile this thing is stumbling to go across the road. It gets to the other side and it just lays there for a while. Then it moves a little bit more. Finally, the cop shows up. He takes out some kind of gun and just shoots it. And then he takes off and leaves the dead.
Or just leaves it laying there.
Yeah, just left it laying there.
Oh shit!
He probably used the 22.
I don't know. I don't know exactly what he used, but
22 would be the logical choice, I would think. You're not gonna shoot him with a 45. There wouldn't be too much left of him,
Or a 9mm.
or a 9mm.
all I know is it went and it was done. One shot. That's all it took.
It was probably a 22.
Probably.
22 pistol.
And then he closes his trunk and takes off. Leaves the carcass right there. That carcass stayed for about 3 months before animal control finally came and got it.
Oh, 3 months.
Yeah.
What was left to haul away after 3 months?
Well, at that point, it was still there, but oh my God, it was. I couldn't walk the dog anymore over in that area. There was no way,
Well, I believe that.
But it got to be, and the reason I knew it took 3 months is because that happened towards the beginning of the summer, or towards the middle end of summer, and by the time they picked it up, it was like the first snowfall.
Oh shit! So that was there for a while.
Yeah, it was just lightly covering the ground. And Jesus Christ. I mean, it was a scary moment because I was like, oh shit, that thing fucking bites the dog. It's going to be a long night.
Yeah, yeah, that would have definitely not have been a good time. That's for sure.
You know, you got to make sure, dog had the rabies shots anyways, but you got to make sure, there's going to be a vet bill involved.
Oh yeah, yeah. You just don't want to. I wouldn't want to go through that, and I wouldn't want to put that on a friend to go through either.
What pissed me off is they left it laying there, and this place has kids running around all the time. It's like, damn. Next thing you know, some kids out there playing with this dead carcass of a raccoon that would had rabies.
Not cool.
Sick,
Well, maybe the kids are gonna try to play God and do a science experiment. Try
I
to
don't know.
reanimate it.
I don't know. I can't. I just couldn't imagine doing that when I was a kid. But we did. Thank God, half of it was never. None of it was ever
You ever
recorded.
see you ever see what
Videotaped.
happens?
You
You ever see
know
what happens to a frog
what? When you
when you
stick a
take it?
firecracker up
No,
its ass.
no, you take a dead you take a dead frog, okay, and then you take um, those long finishing nails, you stick them in their legs, and then you take the battery charger and you hook them up, and then turn the battery charger on.
That how they got the froggy dance?
And no, we're trying to resuscitate the
Frankenfrog?
frog.
Oh, we're trying to
Yeah,
make Frankenfrog.
yeah.
Frank Frog.
It's pretty funny too, man. When that juice goes in there, man, those fucking legs start going.
I'll bet. You do realize that's sick as fuck, right?
So is he.
As I'm laughing.
You do realize I was only like 12 whenever I did that.
You're still enjoying it though, Mark.
That goes to prove one thing. Back when we were kids, we had an imagination.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah, that's because we weren't staring on a screen all damn day, you know?
Entertain ourselves. Well, there was only 3 fucking channels to begin with.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Because you don't include PBS.
Well, we didn't watch that anyway, you know.
Right.
And we were the remote.
You're right about that.
If you stuck around at home, we got kicked out before dinner time. Don't come back till dinner time. Till I call you.
My
No.
parents.
The way
my
they
parents-
called you, they yelled your name to the top of the lungs. You had to be in shouting distance.
Yeah, yeah. We had your ass better be here when those streetlights come on.
Yep.
My parents had 20 acres of land, and we lived 4.5 miles from the nearest town. And I rode my bike everywhere. And then I'd take my BB gun in the middle of the frickin' night, and I would walk that 20 acres, just going out hunting whatever I wanted to hunt, just to shoot whatever I wanted. My nephew and I went out looking for bullfrogs one time because we had an irrigation ditch that went next to the house or next to the property, and the farmer had flooded the back side of the land, and we were out there wading through the water. Dogs weren't with us at that point. It was just me and him, and we're out there with the flashlight and we're looking for bullfrogs, and we're standing completely still, and we could hear someone walking in the water behind us. Whip that flashlight around, there's nobody there. But you can distinctly hear someone walking in that water.
It's a pretty unmistakable sound, somebody walking through water.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So my parents' property had some history to it too.
Well, you were out in California.
Yep. Grew up
There's
in
a lot of
Cali.
history of shit out there.
I grew up in Cali and moved out here.
Yo,
But the best story my mom ever told me is we lived on a egg ranch. So there was like 14 barns, strip barns, where my dad ran the egg ranch, and then he worked as a postal service worker during the day, and then mom and I would and the other kids would take care of the eggs and stuff. Well, two of my brothers went down to the far one of the far barns right at the end where all the manure gathers, and they were digging for worms because when you mix, uh, worms love the chicken manure and everything, and the fresh soil. So they were digging for worms, and the dipshits dug up an Indian skeleton. And no, it's no joke either. It was a
An
freak.
Indian skeleton.
It was a skeleton of an Indian, and it was laying there when they discovered it. It had all the burial stuff with it, the necklaces and everything.
So you were thinking
How
you
how deep did they dig?
I don't know. That I don't know. My mom would tell me about this.
yeah, but think about it though. If that was say, let's say that was some kind of Indian burial mound, for example, okay, and to make it viable for crops or whatever, because it was farmland, right? They flattened it all out.
It wasn't farmland. There was barns built along there with chickens in it.
Well, say it got flattened all out,
Well, yeah.
you know.
So, but they actually, after digging it up, they actually brought it up to the house, carried the whole
They,
thing up to the house,
there's some bad juju right there.
and my mom freaked the hell out on them.
Justifiably.
Made them take it back down to where they found it, and
Put that fucker back.
put everything back, and bury it back in there. And
Put it the way you found it. That would be my suggestion.
I don't know
Exactly,
if they ever did, but
exactly the way you found
but
it.
my mom would swear up and down too that certain nights she would literally see an Indian on a Palomino horse riding through the yard.
Was that before or after that incident?
I think it was after the incident.
See,
You
She
somebody
would
stirred
tell
up
me
had
she
something.
would tell me
juju.
these stories. She'd always tell me these stories.
But see, now what would be interesting now, since we have the technology, if I was
Hmm.
you remember exactly where that land is?
Yeah, I know exactly where the land is, but I'm pretty sure that it's not got the barns on it anymore. I think they
But
tore it all down.
you don't need the barns. If you could find it, see if there was any kind of cross reference it with some Native American. See if there's any like lines or the effigy mounds or anything close by or anywhere near that area. I'd look up the history of that area if I could. Obviously, there's got to be some Native American history there. You
There
know,
was a lot of weird shit that went on around in our area out there.
I wonder
Real,
if there was other burials there too, and you just didn't know it.
that's
it's
that's what I'm
possible.
curious about
It
because
is
if
it
you
is
look up
possible,
some of the
but
history, it's actually possible considering that before we got here, this was all Native American land everywhere.
yeah,
You had
Yeah,
all kinds of different tribes all over the place, and some of them not too pleasant to deal with either because some of
the
them were pretty
Mohicans.
violent, some of them were cannibalistic.
The
You know,
Mohicans were a real violent tribe.
so you had all different walks of life walking through here, and God knows what rituals caused what.
Hmm.
People say they've seen skinwalkers, which is a Native American thing if you go back and look into the history of it.
Skinwalkers are Native American folklore of a evil spirit, a shape shifting evil spirit.
You know,
Turn itself into a wolf, turn itself into anything it really wanted to. But
and
no, the town that we lived near, the it was Layton, California. There's the Kings River runs through it. It runs around the site of it. As you're taking Fowler Avenue out to the south, out of town, you cross over the Kings River, and a lot of times they'd turn the water off in the river so it would be completely dry. But there was this park there it was Kingston Park. We'd always go there at 10, 11 o'clock at night and stay there until 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. This park had tons of activity.
Yeah.
I witnessed shadow people. There was one shadow person. Now during the time I was there, the trees were only about this big around because there were small new trees that they had planted. So I was there. We were in the back parking lot. Me and my girlfriend at the time and a friend of ours, and we were there just horsing around doing our stuff. And this one tree about 50 yards out from us. It wasn't very big. It was only about like so. There was this white. The only way I can explain it is a shadow person. It looked like a humanoid figure, and it was white, and it kept jumping back and forth in behind the tree, and literally when it would go in behind the tree, it would completely disappear, like hide. And this thing was the tree was too small and it was too big to actually hide itself behind that tree, but it would. And
I'd love to see some video of that, Mark.
I never got video. I didn't have
Hmm.
a video camera at the time. That was before I moved out here. But yeah, I would love to. I would absolutely love to go
You
back
know,
there and go in that park and do some filming there because I know there's
Oh,
activity still there.
that'd be
there's a
great to
place,
go check
there's
out.
a place I would really, really love to check out that this whole conversation just triggered a thought because I don't think anybody has probably done our type of investigation in that area, if it's even at all possible, if any of it even exists anymore. When I was a child, I lived here all my life. I used to go to the Dells a lot. And the Dells back then was a whole lot different than it is today. You had the real Native American Indian trading posts and stuff all over the place. Fort Dells still existed. All right. The house of Xanadu was still there. You still had the prehistoric land and storybook gardens and all that crap, right? But they also had these two ceremonies that took place over by Stand Rock, where you had the German Shepherd jumping across from one side to the other. And then there was like a pit area where they used to have these dances and stuff. And, they'd have a big fire going in the center.
They're
And
powwow dances.
I bet if any of that exists, like around Stand Rock, because that whole pit area, it was like a big circle and then another circle, it was made like steps going up and it just got bigger and bigger. And so that people could sit all around on there. And I'll bet you if any of that still exists, I wonder if there's any activity around there, just out of curiosity, because that was such a uh, big place and a lot of Native American, most of the Wisconsin Native American land was probably up in the Dells for the longest time and was probably the last to be taken away. You know, so
Could be interesting. I don't have an answer. I haven't been to the Dells in. Ugh. My hair was still black.
yeah.
It's been a while.
But but were you ever up there as a kid when it was Fort Dells?
I remember Fort Dells from when I was a kid, but that was
They
a
had the
million years
giant,
ago.
right, and then they had the giant foam house and all of that. But they had
Yeah,
those Indian ceremonies up there back then, still in the 70s.
I mean, you are right. The Dells right now is a totally different thing than it was 50 years ago.
Yeah,
Totally different thing.
back then, when I was a kid, 7, 8 years old, that place was like dreamland up there. It was beautiful.
Oh yeah.
Holy crap!
Now
It's already 9
now
o'clock.
it's a tourist trap. You know,
Water park, water park, water park, water
yeah,
park, casino, water
yeah.
park.
I mean, I understand the casino and all of that, but I don't understand all the damn water parks. You know, and you go into what you think might be a Native American trading post. pick up an item, and on the bottom of it, it's going to say made in Taiwan or China or Japan or something that's not here.
You're right about that.
Back when I was a kid, it would say made by this local tribe or that local tribe or, something along that line.
Mm-hmm.
Still Indian trading post, basically. So, yeah, I guess we got to call it quits. We've been going on for 2 hours, huh?
Yeah, we've been passing the wind here, but it's been fun.
So
It's been fun.
I like chatting, man.
What's Crossing Paranormal up to next? Crossingaurd Paranormal. What are you guys up to next?
Well, our next agenda, it looks like probably more in the fall because it's pretty warm down there right now. But Dennis is kind of formulating in his head the trip to Oklahoma.
Oh.
He's got some family members that have got some active places where they live in Lawton.
Lawton?
Yeah.
That, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's just north of Tulsa.
I wouldn't know.
Mark, I'll be honest, my knowledge of Oklahoma is minimal at best.
I've got relatives down there.
But we'll go down, we'll check it out, we'll see what we see, find what we find, and some of the best evidence I've captured over the years has just been in the middle of the day on a whim cemetery someplace. Doesn't have to be dark, doesn't have to be night, doesn't have to be.
That's kind of like us. We went out to Eagle Road Cemetery, and on his video,
that was a
video and my video,
we were out there.
We both caught what sounded like a grunt.
We've been out there twice,
and we were on opposite ends of the damn cemetery at the time.
First time, and then the first time that it was like a jet going over at like midnight and after.
Yeah, and it was flying extremely low too.
And we were nowhere near an airport that
big enough for one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds more like Cessna 150 country,
Yeah, this was a jet, and he's got it on video.
And I did my best to look up and catch it all on video because we saw it. We heard it coming in, and we're like, what the fuck is that? And it's like, because we're out there at midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, out in the middle of nowhere. This is like farm country.
Yep.
You
got woods across the street, farms all around it.
Tiny little cemetery that's got some history that we thought we'd check into, and that was our first experience there that first time. Was this thing flying over at midnight? I swear we said the time on the thing too, on the recordings.
Those are the kind of places I love. The places that aren't advertised and haven't had a million screaming teenagers run through them.
Right. I understand what you're saying. That's like, what was it? We went to, what was that road? Which one was it? The mosquito infested place. Weary Road. Yeah. We went out to Weary Road. All right. It's out near, where was that out near? Do you remember?
Evansville.
We went out towards there. And
Highway 14.
So we went out there to Weary Road, and we get there, and there was at least 3 other paranormal investigative teams or 3 other people that were out there trying to do this dare or whatever.
Yeah, the Green Hornet squad was out there.
Yeah, and the bridge that this all is, the whole story surrounds this bridge on Weary Road and the railroad tracks, but the bridge was just covered in graffiti.
Yep.
Graffiti. The whole road, the bridge, everything.
And stagnant, standing still water underneath the bridge, breeding those damn mosquitoes.
Oh, it was deadly out there that night.
Step out, and you were lucky if you didn't get carried away.
Oh my God! That reminds me of Dennis and I last year, or was it the year before? I don't know. This stuff all kind of blurs together. We were down at Cabin on 360 in Virginia, and there's the woods behind the cabin.
Uh-huh.
Now, these woods in the daytime are hell on earth with mosquitoes. At nighttime, forget about it. There's not enough cans of off or deep woods off or get the hell off or what. They don't make enough of it.
So you're telling me that you basically had to carry backpacks of flamethrowers with you.
Pretty much.
But when we did that, we went out there to do an investigation. We get there, there's 3 other teams. Well, the mosquitoes didn't help, but just with the 3 other teams, anything we would have done would have been contaminated.
Yeah.
You know, and that kind of stuff. So it was a very popular place at the time we decided to go out there to Weary Road. I mean, but it also reminds me of those places that kind of piss you off because people have to tag them with the graffiti everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the worst place I saw, because it's such a kind of like hidden gem, just to go there is it's one of those places that's not considered haunted, but it's considered enchanted. Things like fairies and gnomes and stuff like that have been spotted
Okay.
in the area. And it's called the Devil's Punch Bowl.
Oh yeah, Devil's Punch Bowl. Up by Menominee.
Yes. And my wife and I went out there, and beautiful place, stream running through. You just got to be careful walking around the trails. Slip and fall, and you might not see tomorrow. But we got to this one spot, and there's a tunnel that kind of, man-made tunnel that goes under the road to the other side. And inside that tunnel, it was full of graffiti. And it was like, why do people do that?
Yeah, I hate that shit. I really do.
Very disrespectful.
I didn't necessarily see something, but I could easily see how people might see something, or the mind could play tricks with you if the sun was coming through just right at the right time of year, causing like the sparkling off the water just right. That's down there. It's like a little stream and little waterfalls, and it was just a really cool place to be, But either way, if you go there, you might want to do a little research and make sure you take a little bag of Skittles for an offering. You got to put some Skittles out. That's part of the little story behind the place, I guess.
Travel with Skittles. I'm going to make a note of that.
All right, well, probably call this show done.
Well, we did what we did, and thanks for having me on again.
Oh, thanks for popping in, man.
Glad to help you out, and anytime, you know how to get a hold of me.
And Monday, Mark and I and company are going to be in Monona at, what is that park?
We're going to be at Wanaqua Park in Monona at the Monona Fireworks Festival.
From about 9 to 4.
It's the craft show. It's going to be on the 4th of July, the craft show, and it runs from 9 o'clock to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 9 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Joe and Tanya are going to be out there with...
Yeah, we were going to do a giveaway, but there wasn't enough persons, but I'll show you a little
some
sample.
of those things. They're like...
Yeah, they have some of these there.
Okay, you see pretty good.
Yeah, you can do them on necklaces, or I think Don and Tanya's doing charm bracelets.
These might be like charm bracelets.
And they also...
Like that,
she's also done some T-shirts. I'm doing necklaces and earrings. I got the crystal bullet necklaces and the pendant earrings and the pendant necklaces as well. So
I don't think she got any T-shirts done.
Well, I thought she said she's going to have some. So
I hope you do well.
Go under the weather on something.
I did this last year, and this was the first time I did it on last year.
Call it, and then we can talk.
All right, I'll tell you after he stops it.
All
okay.
Right. Well, everybody, till next time, next Friday, stay safe. Keep your eyes open and remember anything's possible.